First question, we aren't allowed to fit everyone in the same space as before, even if restrictions have been lifted. Some states are wide open and we are doing events there, but my company has other rules in place that we must adhere to. It makes it difficult to negotiate space. How can planners best approach this conversation with our hotel partners? Barbara, do you want to kick that one off?
Sure, Sean, thanks. I like the fact that this question is raised with that buzzword we like to see, conversation, because it is a conversation. Keep in mind that sensitivity around COVID related issues is there. I mean, I know I'm not sharing a news flash with anybody, but it is, and how you approach this is important because regardless of which state or country the hotel might sit, bringing people, as the group likely is in this case, from all over the country and having a company meeting with the company rules, policies, etc., is important. And look, that'd be important pre-COVID to let the hotel know to the extent there were particular policies within the company. So certainly it's important during COVID as well. I think being able to set aside anything happening necessarily on a local level and really focus on your company's needs. So if this is a new policy your company has adopted, have the conversation with the hotel. If this policy has been adopted and you're going out to bid for new hotels, include this information in your request for proposal or RFP. Have the conversation. You know, depending on your rooms to space ratio, you might have to pay for some of that function space, or you might have to trade off other concessions. So that's a business decision on the company's part as well. But it's not to say that the group should settle for anything less than what it needs for its meetings. It should negotiate that no matter where the meeting is, no matter what's going on in that particular locale. When you have your meeting, you should focus on certainly having your policies met. And part of that, certainly the main part of that, begins in communicating those policies with the hotel, using it as a tool to negotiate no matter whether the additional space is required or not. Remember, negotiations are about trade-offs, and there likely are things in the negotiation. Look at your concession list, for example. Are there the so-called sleeves that you can take off of your vest? In other words, things that you don't need that you could trade back in order to get things that you do need, like more space at either a discounted cost or no cost. Those are the things to really focus on. Again, less about what's going on in that locale, because look, it's a bouncing ball. And again, keep in mind, the sensitivities are high everywhere. And I'd say that to the hotel side too. You know, when the groups are coming to you with amendments on a contract coming up, a meeting coming up, or a meeting down the road, they're bringing with them all the baggage that they may have on the nonprofit side, that they may have from their board of directors or leadership, you know, really fractionated around these issues, certainly on the corporate side, potentially as well. So I think certainly we understand as well, come to the hotel, the same is true. But I know the hotels are always aligned in service and wanting to make sure it's a good experience for the group. And here again, I think it's up to the group to communicate it. And Lisa, I would say in that setting, if a hotel were approached on that, whether the contract had been signed or not, I would think the hotel will be receptive to having that discussion, but obviously they need to know about it.
Sure, the hotel is of course open to having that discussion, but as we've said a million times today, it's all about how you do it. If you come to a hotel and say, we can't have this meeting because our company policy says X, Y, and Z, so we're excused, that's not true, because a company policy or a group policy is something that you've chosen to do, and so that isn't necessarily going to excuse you from your contract. So the way to approach it is to say, here's a policy that we're adopting. How can we make this work in your setting? And Barbara mentioned room to space ratio. If you're negotiating a new contract, hotels sell blocks of guest rooms in proportion to the amount of space that they have in the hotel. If they give all the space in the hotel to one group that only has 10 rooms, they're not going to be able to sell the other guest rooms because they have no space to offer. If you need extra space because of your policies, as Barbara said, you need to get that out on the table immediately so that the hotel knows that you're what's sometimes called a space hog, and see if that works for them. Site selection may be very important. Maybe you can find a place that has outdoor options that will allow you more flexibility, or rooms that have windows that open that will allow you more flexibility. Those are options to explore. But again, get it out there. Say, this is what our corporate policy would like us to do. Can we make this work in your venue? And negotiate accordingly. And Barbara's points are all well taken. Maybe in exchange for getting bigger space to accommodate fewer people, you're going to have to give up some other things and come to a decision together as to what can financially work for both sides. Because again, if you're taking up too much space, that's a cost to the hotel.